You got muted somehow. Prabhu, you got muted. Can you please unmute?
Okay. Very good. You can hear the drum?
Yes, Prabhu, yes.
Okay. Jai. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Godavani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane Trinadapi Sunichena Tarad Iva Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Hare Nama Hare Nama Hare Nama Kivalam Kalo Nastyeva 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 Gatir Anyata Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Hari Haraye Namaha Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Gopala Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudana. Hari Haraye Namaha. Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Gopala Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudana. Hari Haraye Namaha. Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Gopala Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudana. Hari Haraye Namaha. Hari Haraye Namaha. Hari Haraye Namaha. Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya. Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya. Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya. Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya. Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya. Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya. Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya. Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya. Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya. Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya. Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya. Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya. So show me by thumbs up if everything sounds good. Thank you, thank you. Before I begin, I want to offer my obeisances to all these devotees who have joined us today. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha, kripa sindhubhyayevacha, patitanang pavanebhyo, vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. May Krishna bless you, protect you, and maintain you. And I want to thank my good longtime friend Ramachandra Das for allowing me this privilege to speak via Sri Zoom. It is such an honor to be able to speak to devotees and have devotee association. So I simply pray that Krishna protects you, maintains you, and blesses you. So Ramachandra Das, he gave me the assignment called Krishna, the Original Father. And so I have gone through the Bhagavad Gita and some text in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and we will hear from my spiritual master, the founder Acharya, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Let us begin. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So in the Bhagavad Gita, there are several shlokas where this concept of Krishna as Father is mentioned. First, in chapter 7, Krishna says the following: Bijam mang sarva bhutanam vidiparta sanatanam buddhir buddhimatam asmi tejas tejasvinam aham. O son of Pritha, know that I am the original seed of all existences, the intelligence of the intelligent, and the prowess of all powerful men. Prabhupada then comments, the word bijam means seed. Krishna is the seed of everything. There are various living entities, movable and inert, birds, beasts, men, and many other living creatures are moving living entities. Trees and plants, however, are inert. They cannot move, but only stand. Every entity is contained within the scope of 8,400,000 species of life. Some of them are moving, some of them are inert. In all cases, however, the seed of their life is Krishna. As stated in the Vedic literature, Brahman, or the Supreme Absolute Truth, is that from which everything is emanating. Elsewhere, Prabhupada comments as follows on this topic. Krishna is Parabrahman, the Supreme Spirit. Brahman is impersonal, and Parabrahman is personal. Impersonal Brahman is situated in the personal aspect. That is stated by Krishna in the 14th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Brahmano hi pratishtaham amritasya vyayasya cha shasvatasya cha dharmasya sukhasya kantikasya cha. I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal. Brahman is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness. Therefore, originally, Krishna is the source of everything. Krishna is the root. As the root of a tree maintains the whole tree, Krishna, being the original root of all things, maintains everything in this material manifestation. This is also confirmed in the Vedic literature, in the Katha Upanishad. Nityo nityanang chetanas chetananang eko bahunang yo vididhati kaman. So this verse for me is very, very dear to me, because the very first time I heard Srila Prabhupada live in person, when I first visited the temple in April of 1973, Prabhupada gave the morning Bhagavatam class, and I remember distinctly, even though it's many, many years ago, that he quoted these two lines. And I can still remember Prabhupada telling at that time, there is one singular eternal living being, and there are many eternal conscious living beings. But the difference between them is that the singular conscious eternal living being is maintaining all the other many, plural, many conscious living beings. In this reference that I found, Prabhupada continues, Krishna is the prime eternal among all eternals. Krishna is the supreme living entity amongst all living entities. and Krishna alone is maintaining all of life. One cannot do anything without intelligence. And Krishna also says that he is the root of all intelligence. So unless a person is intelligent, one cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So now, in the 14th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 2 consecutive verses where Krishna again points out that he is the Father, the original Father. First, in verse number 3, Mama yonir mahad brahma tasmin garbhang dadamyaham sambhavat sarva bhutanang tato bhavati bharata. The total material substance called Brahman is the source of birth. And it is that Brahman that I impregnate, making possible the births of all living beings, O son of Bharata. So here is a direct statement by Krishna that again, he is the seed-giving Father. Prabhupada's purport to this verse is as follows. So this is an explanation of the world. Everything that takes place is due to the combination of Kshetra and Kshetragya, the body and the knower of the body, namely the spirit soul. This combination of material nature and the living entity is made possible by the Supreme Godhead himself, Krishna. The Mahatattva is the total cause of the total cosmic manifestation. And that total substance of the material cause, in which there are 3 modes of nature, is sometimes called Brahman. The Supreme Personality impregnates that total substance, and thus innumerable universes become possible. This total material substance, known as the Mahatattva, is described as Brahman in the Vedic literature. Tasmad etad Brahma nama rupam manangja jayate. The Supreme Person impregnates that Brahman with the seeds of the living entities. The 24 elements, beginning from earth, water, fire, and air, are all material energy, and they constitute what is called Mahad Brahma, or the Great Brahman, the material nature. As explained in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Aparayam itastvanyam prakriting vidhi me param jiva bhutang mahabaho yayedam dharyate jagat. Beyond the 8 separated material elements, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego, there is another superior nature known as the living entity. Into material nature, the superior nature is mixed by the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And thereafter, all living entities are born into this material nature. Just as the scorpion lays its eggs in piles of rice, and sometimes it is said that the scorpion is born out of the rice. But the rice is not the cause of the scorpion. Actually, the eggs were laid by the mother. And so similarly, material nature is not the cause of the birth of the living entities. The seed is given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so they only seem to come out as products of material nature. Thus, every living entity, according to his or her past activities, has a different body created by this material nature, so that the entity can enjoy or suffer according to his or her past deeds. Krishna is the cause of all manifestations of living entities in this material world. And Krishna then continues this concept that he is the Father in the very next verse of the 14th chapter, verse number 4. Sarva yonishu kaunteya murtaya sambhavantiya tasang brahma mahad yonir ahang bija pradapita. That's the most significant line. Ahang bija pradapita. So ahang means I. The speaker of this verse is Krishna. Then he says bija prada. Again, this word bija, seed, seed giving. Same thing he said in the very first shloka from chapter 7 that I quoted, that he is the seed giving Father. So again, bija prada, he gives the seed. And therefore, the last word of the verse, pita. Pita means father. So here is such a direct quote. Many times in my preaching, especially in preaching to Christian community, when I tell them my story, how I used to be a follower of Jesus, and now I am a follower of Krishna. And so I explain to them that Jesus himself said, and I know the exact word, that Jesus himself said, I must be about my Father's business. And Jesus also said, my Father has sent me. So then I asked the Christians, who is that Father that Jesus is referring to? Do you know? They don't know. And then I tell them, that Father that Jesus is referring to is Krishna. That's how I preach sometimes. Here is Prabhupada's translation of this verse. It should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and that I am the seed-giving Father. Here is Prabhupada's purport to this verse. In this verse, it is clearly explained that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the original Father of all living entities. The living entities are combinations of the material nature and the spiritual nature. That's why sometimes in my preaching to certain audiences, I say, yes, we are hybrid. Just see what Prabhupada wrote. The living entities are combinations of material and spiritual nature. So we can say we are hybrid. Such living entities are seen not only on this planet, but on every planet, even on the highest, where Lord Brahma is situated. Everywhere there are living entities. Within the earth there are living entities. Within the water and within fire. All these appearances are due to the mother, material nature, and Krishna's seed-giving process. The purport is that the material world is infused with living entities who come out in various forms at the time of creation according to their past deeds. So my final Bhagavad Gita reference is one of my personal favorite Bhagavad Gita shlokas. Chapter 15, Purushottama Yoga, verse number 7. Mamaivangsho jiva loke, jiva bhuta sanatanaha, manakshashtani indriyani, prakritishtani karshati. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. So I've preached on this verse many times throughout my 40 plus years of preaching. So I especially like that first line, Mama Eva Angsha Jiva Loke. Just like parents, you have children. Your children are your Angsha. They are your parts and parcels. You have your individual existence as mother and father, and your children have their individual individual identity as son or daughter. So here Krishna is saying, Mama Eva Angsha. The word Eva, certainly he's emphasizing this. Mama, my. Krishna is pointing out, Angsha. We are all Krishna's Angshas. That's like it is very common in many religions. Child of God. You see this phrase, child of God. So according to Bhagavad Gita, it is perfectly true. Because Krishna himself says, you, living entities, you are my. So we all belong to Krishna. This is a concept I love so much about Krishna consciousness. Everybody belongs to Krishna. Hindu, Muslim, Jew, American, Chinese, Russian, doesn't matter. We're all part and parcel of Krishna. We are all Krishna's children. But somehow or other in this material world, we can't seem to get along. Of course, devotees, they get along. I'm sure in your temple, you all cooperate and get along with each other. I'm sure of it. So the whole world needs to understand that we may have different bodily denominations, but we're all children of Krishna. Here is Prabhupada's purport to this verse. In this verse, the identity of the living being is clearly given. The living entity is the fragmental part and parcel of the Supreme Lord eternally. It is not that the living being assumes individuality in one's conditioned life and in the liberated stage becomes one with the Supreme Lord in all respects. No, the living being is eternally fragmented. Now it is clearly said in this verse, Sanatana. According to the Vedic version, the Supreme Lord manifests and expands himself in innumerable expansions, of which the primary expansions are called Vishnu Tattva or Sva-angsha, and the secondary expansions are called the living entities or Vibhina Angsha. In other words, the Vishnu Tattva is the personal expansion of Krishna, and the living entities are the separated expansions. And by Krishna's personal expansions, Krishna is manifested in various forms, like Lord Ram, Nrsingadev, Vishnu Murti, and all the predominating deities in the innumerable Vaikuntha planets. These separated expansions, the living entities, are eternally servitors. The personal expansions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the individual identities of the Godhead, are always present. Similarly, the separated expansions of living entities have their identities. As fragmental parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, The living entities also have fragmental portions of Krishna's qualities, of which independence is one. And there it is. This is the root of everything. Independence. Every living entity as an individual soul has his or her personal individuality and a minute form of independence. Sorry, minute. If we were God, we would have unlimited independence, but we are not. We only have minute independence. And by misuse of that independence, one becomes a conditioned soul. And by proper use of independence, he or she is always liberated. In either case, one is qualitatively eternal, as the Supreme Lord is. In one's liberated state, he or she is freed from this material condition and is under the engagement of transcendental service unto the Lord. But in conditioned life, he or she is dominated by the material modes of nature and forgets the transcendental loving service of the Lord. As a result, one has to struggle very hard in order to maintain one's existence in this material world. The living entities, not only human beings, but the cats and dogs, but even the great controllers of the material world, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and even Vishnu, are all parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord. They are all eternal, not temporary manifestations. So before I go any further, I would like to do a commercial and do another bhajan. Do I get thumbs up to do another bhajan? How are we liking the class so far? Is everything okay? Are you enjoying the class? Very good. Thank you for your support and your heart. Thank you. Quick bhajan, and then we'll continue. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivarat Hari Jasodanandana Gopichana Ranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivarat Hari Jasodanandana Rajan Ranjana Jasodanandana Gopi Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivarat Hari Jasodanandana Gopi Jana Ranjana Jasodanandana Gopi Jana Ranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari. So before I go any further, I'd like to ask Ram Tulsi. The next section are different quotations from Bhagavatam. Now, I don't know how long you want to go. If you like, we could start questions and answers now, or if you like, you can continue with what I discovered from Srimad Bhagavatam. Ram Tulsi Das, what say you, my friend?
I think Prabhu, we can still continue. We can take
Okay.
the question later. Yeah.
All right. How much longer should I go?
We still have about like 20 more minutes, you can say, and we can take.
And how much you want for questions and answers?
We can go based on devotees, how many questions they have.
So can I speak for 20 more minutes? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
That's okay?
Yes.
I need to see more thumbs up if they want me to vituperate for another 20 minutes. Because even I get tired of myself, and I don't want to tire you guys out. All right, so it looks like I see some smiling faces. So, thank you. I don't know about you, but I'm really enjoying this on the Transcendental platform. I love nothing better than reading and commenting on Prabhupada's books. This is what I live for. So here are some excerpts from the Bhagavatam on this topic of Aham Bija Pradapita. The varieties of living entities are, with no exception, from topmost planet down to the lowest, all of them in different species of life, are created by the Almighty Father, Krishna. Therefore, no one is completely independent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna therefore claims all living entities as his offspring. The material nature is compared to the mother. Although every living being is seen to come out of the mother's body, it is still a fact that the mother herself is not the ultimate cause of such a birth. It is the father who is the ultimate cause of birth. For without the father's seed, no mother can give birth to a child. Therefore, the living beings in different varieties of forms and positions within the innumerable universes are all born of the seeds of the Almighty Father, the personality of Godhead. And only to the man with a poor fund of knowledge do they appear to be born of the material nature. Being under the material energy of the Supreme Lord, all living beings, beginning from Lord Brahma down to the insignificant ant, are manifest in different bodies according to their past deeds. So, as you can see from this excerpt here from Bhagavatam, we found it to be very, very easy to understand, because all Prabhupada was doing in this purport was paraphrasing what we already learned from the major shlokas of Bhagavad Gita that we just studied. And I always point out to devotees that one should know Bhagavad Gita very, very thoroughly, because I have found it in my preaching experience that the Bhagavad Gita is the foundation of all preaching. So I always encourage my students that please learn Bhagavad Gita very, very thoroughly. Then it will be very easy to preach wherever you may have to preach, because it's the foundation. All right, here is an excerpt from the 3rd canto concerning Varaha. Lord Boar very easily took the earth on his tusks and got it out of the water. Thus Varahadev appeared very splendid. Then, his anger glowing like the Sudarshan wheel, Varaha immediately killed the demon Hiranyaksha, although Hiranyaksha tried to fight with Varahadev. Thereupon, Lord Boar killed the demon within the water, just as a lion kills an elephant. The cheeks and tongue of Varahadev became smeared with the blood of the demon, just as an elephant becomes reddish from digging in the purple earth. Then Varahadev, playing like an elephant, suspended the earth on the edge of his curved white tusks. Then Varahadev assumed a bluish complexion like that of a tamal tree, and thus the sages headed by Lord Brahma could understand Varahadev to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they offered respectful obeisances unto Varahadev. So they offered many prayers, but here is one of the prayers that the sages offered. Sangstapayanam jagatang satashtusham lokaya patnim asimatarang pita vidhema chasyai namasa sahatvaya yasyang svate jogni ivaranav adha. O Lord, for the residential purposes of all inhabitants, both moving and non-moving, this earth can be seen as your wife, and you are the Supreme Father, and we offer our respectful obeisances unto you, along with Mother Earth, in whom you have invested your own potency, just as an expert sacrificer puts fire in arani wood. So, according to the Vedas and their teachings, there are 7 mothers, and one of the mothers is Mother Earth. So here we see these sages, how they are pointing out that actually Mother Earth can be seen as the wife of Lord Varaha. Here is Prabhupada's purport. The so-called law of gravitation, which sustains the planets, is described herein as the potency of the Lord. This potency is invested by the Lord in the same way that an expert sacrificial Brahmin puts fire in the arani wood by the potency of Vedic mantras. By this arrangement, the world becomes habitable for both moving and non-moving creatures. The conditioned souls who are residents of the material world are put in the womb of Mother Earth in the same way that the seed of a child is put by the father in the womb of the mother. This conception of the Lord and the earth as father and mother is explained in Bhagavad Gita. Conditioned souls are devoted to the motherland in which they take birth, but they do not know their father. The mother is not independent in producing children. So similarly, material nature cannot produce living creatures unless in contact with the Supreme Father, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srimad Bhagavatam teaches us to offer obeisances unto the mother along with the Father, the Supreme Lord, because it is the Father only who impregnates the mother with all energies for the sustenance and maintenance of all living beings, both moving and non-moving. We'll do one more reference. This is from the 3rd canto as well, when Kapila Dev is instructing his mother, Devahuti. Daivat Shupita Dharminyang Swasyang Yonao Parakpuman Adhata Viryang Sasuta Mahat Tatvang Hiranmayam. After the Supreme Personality of Godhead impregnates material nature with his internal potency, Material nature delivers the sum total of cosmic intelligence, which is known as Hiranmaya. This takes place in material nature when she is agitated by the destinations of the conditioned souls. Prabhupada's purport. The infusion of material nature is described in Bhagavad Gita, 14th chapter, verse 3. Material nature's primal factor is the Mahatattva, or breeding source of all varieties. This part of material nature, which is also known as Pradhan, is also known as Brahman, and is impregnated by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and then delivers varieties of living entities. Material nature in this connection is called Brahman because it is a perverted reflection of the spiritual nature. It is described in the Vishnu Purana that the living entities belong to the spiritual nature. The potency of the Supreme Lord is spiritual, and the living entities, although they are called marginal potency, are also essentially spiritual. If the living entities were not spiritual, this description of impregnation by the Supreme Lord would not be applicable. After impregnation, material nature delivers all kinds of living entities, beginning from the greatest living creature, Lord Brahma, down to the insignificant ant, in all varieties of form. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14, verse 4, material nature is clearly mentioned as Sarva Yonishu. This means that all varieties of species, demigods, human beings, animals, birds, and beasts, whatever is manifest, material nature is the mother, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the seed-giving father. Generally, it is experienced that the father gives life to the child, but the mother gives its body. Although the seed of life is given by the father, the body develops within the womb of the mother. Similarly, the spiritual living entities are impregnated into the womb of material nature. But the body, being supported by material nature, takes on many different species and forms of life. The theory that the symptoms of life are manifest by the interaction of the 24 material elements is not supported herein. The living force comes directly from the Supreme Personality of Godhead and is completely spiritual. Therefore, no material scientific advancement can produce life, for the living force comes from the spiritual world and has nothing to do with the interaction of the material elements. And with your permission, just one more statement from Srimad Bhagavatam. This, of course, is by the great Prahlad Maharaj when he was instructing his classmates. Nahi achyutang prinayato bahu ayaso suratmaja atmavat sarvabhutanam siddhatvad iha sarvata. Prahlad Maharaj said, my dear sons of demons, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, is the original Supersoul, the father of all living entities. Consequently, there are no impediments to pleasing Narayan or worshiping Narayan under any conditions, whether one be a child or an old man. For the relationship between the living entities and Narayan is always a fact, and therefore there is no difficulty in pleasing Narayana. So I'm going to stop my lecture here, and before we do questions and answers, I would like to sing the Nrsimha prayers for your protection. I always end my lectures offering to do Nrsimha prayers so that you are all protected. I call Nrsimha prayers spiritual insurance policy because Lord Nrsimha protects his devotees. So we'll do Nrsimha prayers, and then if there's any questions, usually in my classes, there's no questions because I speak very simple A, B, C, D, but if there are any questions, I'll try to answer. So here is for you, devotees of Bergen, Nrsimha prayers. Namaste Narasimhaya Praklada Klada Dayane Hiranya Kashi Purvakshaha Shilatankana Kalaye Ito Nrsimha Parato Nrsimha Yato Yato Yamitato Nrsimha Bahir Nrsimha Hridaye Nrsimha Nrsimham Nadim Sharanam Prapaje Nrsimham Nadim Sharanam Prapaje Nrsimham Nadim Sharanam Prapaje Tavakara Kamala Vare Nakam Adbhuta Sringam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Janu Bringam Keshavadrita Narahadi Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadish Jai Jagadish Jai Jagadisha Hare Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Om Tat Sat. I am ready for your questions.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nirantara Prabhu. That was a really wonderful session and beautiful ending with Nrsimha prayers. So I will take a quick minute to share upcoming programs and we'll take a question and answer. Devotees can, if they have any questions, you can type it or you can raise your hands. Let me share. So as we know, you can visit all our updates in our website called ISKCON.org. So today we had Sunday program with His Grace Nirantara Prabhu. This coming Wednesday Sangha, we have very special speaker, Sita Mataji from ISKCON Chopati and Eco Village. She's a wonderful speaker, inspirer for youth and women empowerment. And definitely you don't want to miss that in the topic, In Giving We Receive. Very wonderful topic. And this special Sunday, this coming Sunday on June 27th, is a special Sunday that we are going to have a gala program, the Sunday school gala presentation, that all the youths and kids are going to present their program. I think the youths are going to do on the next Sunday. And this Sunday, the grade, I think, kindergarten and till 5th grade, I think they are going to present it. And we are also planning to have a picnic, which is be postponed till maybe August. We are planning because of the venue issue. Tomorrow is a special day again. As last time we discussed, tomorrow is a special day for Pandava Nirjala Ekadashi. And you don't want to miss this special day, to perform some austerities to please the Lord. And we have every Thursday Sunday story programs for kids. If you have any kids, friends, anybody who wants to join, definitely this is really wonderful program to join. And every day we have morning japa from 6 to 8 a.m. Anytime you can join during this time, and you will have wonderful opportunity to join. And this tomorrow, the next day, the fast breaking time for Nirjala Ekadashi will be, this will be on Tuesday, 5:26 a.m. to 10:28 a.m. So that's a fast breaking time. So it is highly recommended to stay completely fasting even from water. That's why it is a Nirjala Ekadashi. And any other thing I missed? We have weekly Bhakti Vriksha. We are going to start on site Bhakti Vriksha from upcoming Bhakti Vriksha Friday. But still there will be option for virtual who are not able to or able to join. So please do that. And we have every Monday to Friday Bhagavad Gita reading at 12 p.m. to 12:15. So you have some time during the time in the day. You can definitely join this session. And I think I covered everything. So thank you so much. So anyone has any questions, please raise your hand. So I will start with myself, Prabhu. So this is, you spoke about wonderful thing about how Krishna has given this quality, right? As you have told that we have all individual living entities. Everybody is carrying the quality of Krishna. But he has given this minute, as you said, like, this minute independence. Now it becomes a kind of a blessing. But sometimes I wonder myself, and by seeing other people also, like, is it really a blessing or a curse? How can we perceive that?
Well, since I've been asked this question 1 billion times, I always try to think of a different way to answer it. But generally, it comes down to this. I want you to think about this, that unless there's free will, there can be no such thing as love. Krishna could have created robots to worship him. But no, love means that an individual voluntarily chooses to love and serve another. If somebody is forced to do something, that is not love. If I force somebody at gunpoint, you must do this, it has no meaning. Love is, the very nature of love is, here is this other person who has minute independence, but still independence. And what is that minute independence? We can choose to love Krishna or not. So when Krishna sees that the living entity voluntarily says, no, I choose you, that increases Krishna's bliss. We got to understand why we don't use the word created. Why we emanate from Krishna. The reason why we don't use the word created, because we learn that the soul always exists. So if something always exists, it wasn't created. So we are emanating from Krishna. So why does Krishna have these parts and parcels? Because he wants to increase the loving propensity. Yes, Krishna has Srimati Radharani. All of his desires are fulfilled. But by having these minute angshas, parts and parcels, living entity, and endowing them with free will, and when that living entity chooses to surrender to Krishna, Krishna's happiness, he's already unlimitedly happy, but he becomes more unlimitedly happy. Because you're all parents, you had children. Why did you have children? You wanted to expand, increase your happiness. Husband and wife, when they first got together, they were happy. They went on honeymoon and they were very happy in their lives. But then they decided, no, now we want to share what we have together. We want to share this with children. So Krishna wants to share all of his opulence with the living entities, but they have to want it. That's the key. Krishna allows us. You can do, like he told Arjuna, I've told you everything. Now you choose what you want to do. Krishna didn't have a gun to Arjuna's head. No. This is one thing I like about Bhagavad Gita. Krishna, when you read Bhagavad Gita, the way Krishna is speaking to Arjuna, and we learn from Prabhupada, what he's saying to Arjuna is for everyone. Krishna deals with us gentlemanly, with respect, sort of like, I don't want to say equal, but he's giving you that ability. Now you do as you like. That's the beauty. This is what I love. It's not that do what I say or else I'm going to obliterate you. No. We want there to be this, in order for there to be love, there must be some voluntary approach. I choose you. I choose you. Thus, I'll say in my own married life, I'm very, very fortunate that I have a loving wife who works very, very hard. She works a regular job like I'm sure many of you do. And she decided that, Prabhuji, I don't want you to work. I want you to preach. That was the happiest day of my life. I was prepared to again get a job, but my wife said, no, my service to Prabhupada is that I will work and allow you unlimited facility to preach. I went down on her lotus feet and I touched her feet and I almost cried. I thanked her profusely. Only 2 days I'm not allowed to preach. Christmas and the day after Thanksgiving, because those are family days. But the rest of the 363 days, I can go anywhere, no questions asked. I can do preaching any time of the day. I'm so fortunate. So I'm very happy that she did that out of love. She did that out of her own. I didn't even ask her. I was prepared. But no. So because she offered it, it made it so fantastic. So bottom line, without free will, no, you can't use this word love. Free will means I choose you.
Thank you.
Does that